I'm working on this TORO wheel horse, model 416H. This is part 3 of a multi-part series. In the last video, I figured out this tractor had the wrong ignition switch. I found the right switch, but I didn't put it in yet because one terminal in the connector was broken. Then I was thinking about putting the engine back on, but when I started looking at it, I found the crankshaft has too much Endplay. I bought this darn thing so I could mow with it, and it's newer than what I normally show on the channel, so I'm not going to show every step of the process like I normally do. I'll just hurry up and get it done. Here's what it looks like now. Everything's off the outside. The pistons are still in it. The timing gear cover's off. Next I get to look in the bottom. The oil pan cover's off. The pistons are out of it. Most of it looks good, but here's what I wanted to look at. Onan uses bushings for main bearings. I didn't know that. On the right side there's a plastic looking thrust face, and on the left side it looks like some sort of fiber material. That's where the Endplay is coming from. This here is the material that used to be in there. It's all mashed out from side pressure. I didn't expect to see that. I didn't know that was an issue. So is that what happens when you put a wheel horse designed clutch pulley on the side of an engine with this type of bearing? The wheel horse designed PTO clutch uses an over-center type linkage to mash the clutch pulley against the clutch facing, and that's mounted on the end of the crankshaft. So all that clutch force is pushing sideways on the end of your crankshaft all of the time while you're mowing the grass or using any other attachment that runs off of that PTO pulley. That's normally not an issue with the Kohler engines because they use roller bearings for main bearings. I'm not ready to say there's a problem with Onan engines in a wheel horse. I don't have any experience with them. Maybe the clutch was misadjusted and was applying too much pressure, or maybe the oil wasn't changed enough. I should be able to change that bearing and get it going again. Now I need to get this gear off the crankshaft. Here's a page from the Onan engine manual. And here's a picture of how it's done. Here's the one that I made. It's thick enough that it won't flex, and it fits right up against that face because I milled a little notch to clear that woodruff key. There's a bolt hole in the end of the crankshaft where the puller wants to rest. So I found this bolt that would work with the washer, and I drilled a center hole in the end with a center drill. I did that in the lathe so it is close to exactly on center. The bolt should have a little more thread engagement, but it'll work for this. Here's the puller I'm going to use. The jaws are kind of short, so I put a step on my puller ring just so the jaws could reach down to it. I think most people use impact drivers on their pullers nowadays, but I don't have one, so I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Get a bigger wrench. There it goes. Well, that's not good. About half of this thrust face is worn away. The inside half is okay, but the outside half is not. Here's what it was rubbing on. There's two locating pins that hold that bearing in place. Once the bearing got thin enough, the crank started riding on those pins. The aluminum block base is still okay. I thought this was some type of fiber when I was looking at the edge of it, but it's melted plastic. If you think about it, once the crankshaft started grinding on those pins, there'd be sparks flying around in there. That would create some heat, even if there was some oil splashing on it. Here's the normal one compared to the burned up one. If you hold this good bearing up to the crankshaft, you can see how half of the bearing surface is gone, right where those dowel pins would be. And that gap right there is how much is worn away. To fix that, you'd have to fill that with weld, or machine that face flat and add a spacer, or replace the crankshaft. This tractor only has 500 hours on it, so it's probably worth saving, but it'll cost a little more than I was hoping for. I'm going to take some time to consider my options here, so my next video might be about something else. A last minute update here. I checked online for these thrust washers. It looks like the few that are available are made of steel, not the plastic material. So that's probably the fix to the problem, as long as your crankshaft is still good. Alright, that's it.